The harms on the Cuban economy by the U.S. embargo in the 60s have led particularly to harm to the people rather than to its government. What I'm here to argue today is that the United States should end its embargo on Cuba and what we can do as citizens to try to make that happen. But a good question to ask is, what's happening and why is this happening? The reason why this is happening is specifically because the Cuban Revolution in the 50s and going on into the 60s resulted in what a perceived communist government inside the country. Because of this and because of U.S. backing of the previous Cuban government, the United States impacted a total embargo from them and all other allied nations to prevent the sale of both weapons and manufacturing, but also food and other basic necessities to the island of Cuba to be able to end the communist regime. However, this has specifically been harming the people rather than the government, resulting in lower access to quality of healthcare, lower access to infrastructure, lower access to food, and other basic amenities needed for the Cuban people to survive. In a study done in a research paper called The Impact of U.S. Health in Cuba from Richard Garfield, who teaches global health at Emory University, in a paper published on January 1992, there are temporal trends that further suggest that the embargo contributes to increasing health threats and the decline of some health indicators. While not the sole consequence of these ills, the embargo is shown to make the supply of essential goods more costly, more difficult, and more time-consuming to procure and maintain. When he says goods here, what he's referencing inside the paper is specifically all consumer goods, whether it's access to healthcare, access to basic goods for repairs, like for infrastructure repairs on roads, bridges, tunnels, etc., and access to food, exported food from the United States, exported food from other countries, grain, wheat, dairy, beef, other meat products, all are included within this section, which is all embargoed under the United States' plan. We can see pictures of the crumbling infrastructure within Cuba here. Many might argue that it is from Cuban mismanagement of the country's funds. However, it is also shown from the quote earlier, it is due to a lack of basic building materials and a lack of skilled workers or educated workers able to procure, use these materials to actually do significant infrastructure repairs on these bridges, roads, tunnels, etc., makes it more difficult for the Cuban economy to function. This also extends to food, as I mentioned earlier, with lots of lines forming for food, causing long food line queues, which makes it more difficult for the populace to get food. And in addition to that, large shortages on more basic food materials like wheat, corn, grain that the Cuban people absolutely need to survive. The global view on the Cuban embargo is also overwhelmingly in support of Cuba, with all but two countries, America and Israel, voting against a UN resolution to end the embargo on Cuba. In a report from AP News by Edith Leader, reporting on this specific vote on the 3rd of November 2023, a quote rang out in the United Nations which read, "Let Cuba live without the blockade." This is the only way for the Cuban people to be able to receive the proper goods and services required for them to be able to function and live on the day-to-day lives without serious harms and degradation to their society. So it is extremely important that the United States is to end their embargo. What we can do to help is we can sign this petition that I have linked below in order to petition the United States government to in an amendment to end the Cuban embargo. What you can also do personally, other than sign the petition, is send your letter to your local congressman or senate or state senator in order to have them petition to try and end the Cuban embargo. Every day matters. People die every single day, and it's extremely important that we provide this help.